back to Morning Coffee. Megan here, back with another video on planning. If you like videos about planning, you might as well subscribe to this channel so you can get more of that content in your feed on a regular basis. Thank you so much for subscribing. I'm really hoping to get 2,000 subscribers this year, so please subscribe and help me and let me help you with videos twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays, all about planning and organization and productivity and goal getting and all the good things. Today, we're going to talk about two of my favorite things, routines and planning, because we're going to talk about what my planning routine looks like. I have mentioned this in videos before in terms of all of the different times of year that I will plan. And in different videos, I've taken you through how I planned for a quarter or how I planned for a month or how I planned for a week. But I kind of wanted to take some time to holistically lay out essentially what my planning routine and my planning system looks like in my life. If you ask me, how do I plan? The answer would be I plan annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily. And I know that that sounds terrifying and overwhelming and like, oh my God, girl, do you do anything other than plan? Almost no is the answer to that. But it is something that is a hobby and interest of mine. It is something that I think helps me stay on track. And so I love it. So it's a part of my life and part of my routine because it works for me and I thoroughly enjoy it. So I'm just going to give you kind of like a holistic overview of how I plan and what that routine looks like. If you are searching for some more planning routine inspiration, hopefully this video helps give you some ideas. And what works for me isn't going to work for everyone else. So this isn't me telling you this is what your system should be. This is answering the question, how do I do it? I think that I've picked up little pieces of my planning routine from watching and learning from other people here on YouTube. And so that's sort of what this video is all about. I'm not telling you that this is the way that you have to do it. I'm saying take some of the information I'm giving you and craft a routine of your own that works for you in your life and in your season. You know, planning and like your life already is hard enough, right? Planning isn't here to guilt you or to make it hard for you or to give you all these things to do. Planning and planning tools are there to help you make your life easier, to make it easier to live, make it feel better to live. And so for me, I come from a place of planning helps you live the life that you want to live. So let's get into my planning routine. So the first piece of my planning every year is to do an annual goal setting planning session. For the last couple of years, I have been using the Artist of Life workbook for this. I think in 2021, I'm going to try a different product. I think I'm going to try the Life Map by Michelle B., who's also a YouTuber. Lavendare is the one that does the Artist of Life workbook. And this is essentially a monthly, annually, quarterly planner. And this is what started me on the train of planning so much more frequently. And so I highly recommend this. I have loved it for 2 years. I just want to try something else. But essentially, I sit down in December. So when I get ready for 2021, I'm going to be getting ready in December of 2020. I'm going to start thinking about what are the next couple things that I want to work on and focus on in the next year of my life. While I fully believe that you can get a fresh start any old time you want to, the new year obviously is a natural mile marker. It's a natural milestone, a natural place to take a minute, reflect on where you've been, think about what you want next, and kind of start to lay out the roadmap of what that's going to look like over the next year of your life. Again, it's just a natural point in the year where it feels like, again, that's just a natural point in your year that feels like it's the right time to reevaluate. So I highly recommend using a tool at the beginning of the year that incorporates some journaling and reflection exercises like this one does, like the Life Map does. I'll link both below. And then actually I did do a full video flip through of the Artist of Life workbook, which I will link up here so you can watch that video. But it's important to not just make a list of all the things that you want to do, but really encourage yourself to think a little deeper about what has been going right, what has been going wrong, what's important to you in the next season coming up, and what are really those things that you want to focus on for the year. So every year in December, I will sit down with some sort of tool to reflect and kind of put together the plan for the things I'd like to do for the beginning of next year. And I would just like to say that goals don't have to be these huge, audacious, like Pinterest-worthy things of like becoming a millionaire or, you know, owning 3 homes or having a private jet. Like goals can be anything that improve your life. Anything that make your lives better. That could be, I need to think of a lunch system for my kids. I need to hire some help around the office. We want to get rid of some debt. Like they don't have to be these huge, ginormous things. I think people get too intimidated by goals. They think that they have to be this huge, elaborate thing. And that's why they kind of shy away from doing it. But a goal is anything that you want to work on that's going to make your life better. So that is how I plan annually. So after I've sort of set out the goal list of things that I want to work on for the entire year, you have to start breaking those goals into smaller pieces in order to actually make them achievable and little pieces that you can actually attach onto and get done. So for me, that looks like planning quarterly. And this has been one of the biggest game changers for me in terms of actually making goals and progress happen. I am a huge believer that big things happen little by little. It is the accumulation of little tiny decisions and actions that add up to the progress that you're looking for. And so what that looks like for me is breaking goals down into quarters. So quarters are 3 months of the year. You could certainly set yours up however it works for you. Don't feel like you have to adhere to the traditional quarters, which would be like January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. That's how I do it just because it fits in well with how I plan annually every year in December, but you can start anytime. You can finish out, your September quarter and then start fresh in October, whatever works for you. But essentially breaking the year into 4 small chunks. And I think it's important to note that I don't plan all 4 quarters out at once at the beginning of the year. I plan them each individually as that time comes around. So in December, once I've set out my plan for the whole year, when January rolls around, that is when I plan for the quarter. And I only plan for January, February, and March. I just plan on what is going to happen in those 3 months. And then after those months are done and I'm approaching the start of a new quarter, then I plan that quarter because I need the reference and the information of what happened in Q1. It's just way too hard, in my opinion, to plan out the whole quarter because there's no way to know what's actually going to happen in your life and what might change. Hi, 2020. That's a good example of that, right? Lord knows, we just didn't know what was coming for us in 2020. So I don't plan all 4 quarters out at the beginning of the year. I plan each quarter as that quarter approaches. And essentially what that looks like is looking at those annual goals and saying, okay, what are the first couple things that I want to attack here in 3 months? What do I want to do? And then I focus on those. Finishing those in those quarters. And then when I would get ready for the new quarter, I take a look at my annual goals. Again, I look at everything that happened in Q1 and then set the plan for Q2. It just makes it a little bit easier when things are in smaller chunks. You're not trying to plan 12 months at a time. You're just planning the next 3 months. So that is how I mark the start of every quarter. So that would be January, April, July, and October. So that's how I plan quarterly. Next, I do plan at the beginning of every new month. This is just, again, the calendar marks a natural breaking point between, January and February, and it's just a natural trigger to sit down and reevaluate. So this means looking at kind of the plans I set out for my quarter and deciding what in the next 30, 31 days do I want to work on? What am I going to work through first? This is also helpful because this is where some of those like practical life things start to come in, right? You have birthdays and holidays and celebrations that happen in certain months. This is when, maybe you have a trip coming up, or you have like a special anniversary or something that always happens in your family every month. This is where you can start to plan for some of those types of things. So sitting down before the beginning of the month and kind of laying out, what does this month look like for me? What's happening this month? What do I need to make sure I take care of in this month? Like I go and take my, wedding ring into the jeweler every January and June. Those types of things is where you start to kind of incorporate some of those when you plan monthly. I just started a bullet journal for planning for my months. I did a whole video on this bullet journal and how I use it to plan for the month. And so I'm going to link that video up there, up below. I'm going to link that video up above so that you can check that video out and kind of look in and see how I do it. But essentially, that's just making a list of everything that's happening that month along with everything I'd like to work on that month. And again, just kind of breaks things down into the next level piece. And again, this is where you really start to incorporate some of those life things. So that is how I plan monthly. And the next step is planning weekly. So every Sunday night, I sit down. It's usually like one of the last things that I do. It's one of the routines that I genuinely actually really love. Like I get excited about sitting down and planning out my week on Sundays. It's calming. It's grounding to me. It just makes me feel like I'm settling in to what is next. And so I will go ahead Sunday night and I literally look at my schedule. So my schedule changes every week. I don't work a consistent shift. I work in the event industry, so my shift is always different. So I look at my schedule. I look at what appointments I have, like any special plans that are coming up that week. And then this is where I incorporate those things that have to get done around the house. Like we got a meal prep every week. I got a meal plan. I just did a video on how I meal prep and meal plan on Monday, so I'll link that up above. This is how I make sure our bathroom gets clean every week. Laundry gets done. We check in with our bank account every week. Like all of those types of things come to the surface during my weekly planning session. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm taking the things that I assigned to myself for that week in here and placing them on actual days in my calendar so that I can actually, make those things happen, make them come to fruition. So every Sunday I sit down and just get my next 7 days planned out. If you don't do anything other than this one thing, I think this is going to be like the easiest place to start. Taking time before your week starts to just figure out what the heck is coming up in the next 7 days. I have a newsletter, and the information is below, an email newsletter that I share every Saturday. And I recently talked about how, because everything is so uncertain right now, it's a little easier to plan in short term, like just this small chunk of time. I actually know what's going to happen in this small chunk of time. Beyond that, I don't know because the world is crazy and unpredictable right now. But just that 7 days. So if you don't do any of the other planning that I talked about, if you're not there yet, or if you're looking for somewhere to start here. It would take time once a week on Sunday to figure out what you have coming in the next 7 days. That is how I plan weekly. And last, but certainly not least, I do plan daily. I use my day designer planner to plan daily. This is a daily planner, meaning there is a page for every day of the week. They do combine Saturday and Sunday onto one page, but you know what I mean. So I have a lot of videos about this planner in particular. So I will link one of those above, and then you can check out my planning playlist to see more about this. But this is essentially where I have one page that shows me what meetings I have that day, what appointments I have that day, what my schedule is like that day, all of the tasks that I want to accomplish that day. And one of my favorite things about the Day Designer is it asks you to identify the top 3 things that you want to do that day. And so it's like your top 3, like if nothing else gets done today, those 3 things get done. And I've really found that to be very helpful in just kind of guiding me through every day. And so I use a planner like this. You could certainly go to any store basically that has an office supply section and get a planner. You could do this in a notebook. You could do this in your phone. Maybe you use like a Google Calendar or something like that for part of this. Maybe you want a time block and actually put your tasks in on your calendar. I mean, whatever works for you, but that is how I plan every day. So every night before I go to sleep, the last thing I do is I review my planner for the last time, checking off everything that got done, and then transferring anything that needs to go to the next day or to another day over there. And then just kind of looking at what does tomorrow look like for me? Again, my schedule is different every day. Things are changing at work all the time. You might feel the same. And so if I didn't sit down before the next day to look at what's going on, I probably wouldn't have any idea. But doing that is something that helps me be like, okay, I need to have dinner prepped because I'm not going to be home at dinner time. I need to make sure that this form is done. I need to make sure I go get stamps because I have to mail that birthday card tomorrow. Like all those kinds of things kind of come through when I look at my schedule for the next day every night. And this could be something really simple. It honestly doesn't take that long. Maybe 5 minutes just to look at what you have coming up the next day. So that is how I plan daily. I hope you enjoyed this overview of my planning routine. I know that it sounds like a lot, and my goal here is super not to like overwhelm anybody, but just to kind of give you a holistic approach to how you could plan your life, maybe what pieces of that work for you. Maybe quarterly doesn't matter to you, or maybe quarterly is enough and you don't have to do it monthly. Again, take what you need and leave the rest. Find a system that works for you. But again, I truly believe that big things happen little by little, and planning a little bit along the way is what sets you up to create the lifelong vision that you're kind of working towards. Planning just helps you make sure that you're setting the stage for the life that you want to live eventually, and not just kind of letting life take you through it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it helpful. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back with you for another video on Monday and next Thursday. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.